and discuss the boiler system controls at Sawyer School.
Sorry, guys.
Hello. And so we have Pat and Rob from the Shelburne Regional School District. You can say we are, you can come up here, whatever's easier for you.
What do you do?
Yeah.
Make it official.
So thank you for making time to come and explain the situation.
Copy of the front end controls that we're upgrading with. That was actually completed today. Senator, recall last year during the Capital Planning Commission walkthrough, we had talked about the
Sorry, do you have another one?
Sorry, yeah, the control systems and how they were failing at a rapid rate. And when we fired up the boiler system this year, we found that we've lost just about all controls to the classrooms, air handlers and things like that. One thing that we did have control over was the boiler plant itself, but we were fearful that we wouldn't make it through the winter in the condition that it was in, so we thought it would be, in our school district and everybody's best interest to upgrade that front end part right now to make sure there was no downtime at school or any burst pipes or anything like that if something had happened over the weekend. Anytime that we had lost power, we lost all communication to the boiler plant itself. Jim Brigham, the district electrician, he can get into the system at home via his computer VPN in, and when the system goes down, there was no way to reboot it, so we'd have no idea what the system was doing if it was back up and running. So it really, could cause a big problem, frozen pipes and that sort of thing. So he just thought it would be, everybody's best interest to upgrade that part right now. And then working with the town of Bolton, with the green communities, try to secure grant funding to finish the whole project down the road. Probably a two-phase process. So we have a meeting with Eric Uriati, ABS, and Guardian Energy on December 20th to discuss, laying out the roadmap for, getting the grant funding and how we're going to go forward with the project.
Okay. So can you just explain, I don't know if everyone is aware that you brought this to the school committee on sort of an emergency basis.
Yes.
Right. Last meeting, 2 meetings ago was, right, Dawn? 2 weeks ago. We brought John in and to help us explain exactly what was going on. Basically, what the school district is going to do is we're going to pay for the ABS controls now, and then on the assessment for July 1st, we will adjust the assessment for the town of Bolton for that, which is why that I included that on the capital. I had discussed that with John, and I wasn't sure if that should have been on the capital.
Just to keep it visible.
Right, just to keep it visible. So I wasn't sure if it still had to go to town meeting for vote or what, so I included it on the capital. But the school committee did agree that that was acceptable for us to do that.
So on the capital plan, it shows that there's $25,000, but then you've got this quote for 22.
Right, we weren't sure
Yeah.
during the construction if they were going to.
We just came up with a
during
not
the
to exceed,
installation, rather.
$25,000,
Yeah.
just in case they came up with any incidentals that they found, so.
But this is the number.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
I'm sorry, what is the figure? I haven't seen that.
So the figure is 22,825.
Okay.
And then just to be clear, so the request would basically be that this be approved and added to the assessment effective July 1, 2020. You'll cover the $22,825 until then,
Right.
and then Bolton will pay you for it at that point. Okay, rather than like an emergency request from our advisory transfer fund.
Yes.
I was thinking, since the reserve is under such siege already, that being able to defer it to July 1 seemed to make a lot of sense.
Yep, absolutely.
Now, will this number be rolled into our assessment, or we'll get our assessment and then we'll add 22,825? Or you're not sure yet?
I'm not sure
Okay.
yet.
As long as I know by budget, by the.
I would imagine
Just
that
to
I'll
make
just
sure.
book it as a receivable at the end of the year. So, if we add it to the assessment, then we can just,
Give us one number.
one,
Yeah, okay, thank you.
So tonight, you're asking for a vote from us saying that we approve of this expenditure, right? So that if it were to, if it comes up down the road, advisory's on record as supporting it, right?
Yes,
Is that the
that's
understanding? Does anyone have any questions?
They've got a list of hardware here, but, functionally, the whole front end, the combustion controls, that's what you...
Yeah, it's for the boiler plant itself. It has nothing to do with the classrooms and all the other units. It's just to maintain communication and keep the boiler plant up and running.
And whatever we spend here is gonna not have to be abandoned later.
Exactly. Yep. It's all
good
good
money.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, so I would entertain a motion to approve this plan as outlined by Pat. Anyone want to make that motion?
I'll move, that's a move. I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. Is it all right if I shut this?
Yeah, I was gonna. We're all like, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, Dawn?
If I'm encouraging too much, just...
I was just, one thought that I had was if Dawn's here, we could address the transfers, just move them up on our agenda and address them now, because I know he has the knowledge of the asset transfer. But.
And you have that transfer, right? Because
Yeah.
I didn't see it attached to the agenda.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have people here to address anything, so I would say if everyone's comfortable, can we just advance agenda item number 5? Can we deal with transfer requests now and then go over the operating budget later? I just figured that since you're here.
Sure.
Okay, so we have 3 transfer requests, and the first one I sent by email a couple weeks ago, and that's related to Assabet. If anyone needs a refresher, the amount requested is $8,234 to be transferred to the post-secondary vocational ed line. And the reason for the request is that an out-of-district student will be at Assabet Valley. We're going to have a student who will be considered out-of-district at Assabet. We have to pay the first half of their tuition based on a determination made that services unique to Assabet need to be provided. So I had gotten a couple questions from members of advisory related to this request, and I had an opportunity to discuss it with Dawn Lowe and obtain some additional details. But the thing to understand is that due to student privacy rights, we're not allowed to not only discuss, but even on the town side, be aware of some of the specifics, student-specific details as to why the transfer was deemed necessary by the superintendent. So I shared our questions with Dawn, and he offered the following response, which is that the determination regarding unique services was made by our superintendent. Due to student privacy rights, we can't be provided with the private information regarding the details of the situation. I didn't know if you wanted to add anything or...
Really, I mean, process-wise, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
The determination is out of our hands. I would like to emphasize that this is an extremely rare thing. Superintendent Clunchy's been here 2.5 years. This is the first time she's made such a referral. I've been here 10 years, March 1st, and this is only the second one that I've seen in almost 10 years. So it happens very, very rarely, and I'm sure always with good reason.
We had one a few years ago, and we compared the cost of Assabet versus Minuteman, and it turned out that I think Assabet was less, if the calculations were right, than an incremental additional person at Minuteman at that time.
At that time, right. I think the snapshot in time is, I think you're right, yeah.
Always wondering about how does it compare now. Not that that changes a vote, but it's an interesting...
I suspect Assabet would still be shown to be cheaper. because while Assabet has had a building project over there, Minuteman has a bigger building project. And I think from what I've seen, I think the per pupil cost is probably higher over there.
Yeah, perhaps we even have the numbers, because we have the number of people going there, and I think we have the absolute dollars, whether the incremental person is
Mhm.
a division of those two numbers, I don't know. Okay.
And then there were a couple other questions which we can answer. The current request does not include transportation, and so we're anticipating probably about another $1,800 requested for transportation. And then in terms of sort of budgeting for this need going forward, we really can't with much accuracy, because this sort of a determination can always be revisited. So it might just last for one semester, it might last more, we can't really say. So of course, if the determination changes, then so would this request.
So the amount of this request is for the full academic year?
It's
No.
for the
No.
semester.
One
Yeah.
semester, okay.
How is the coursework that somebody is taking student confidential? I mean, it doesn't seem like it's an intrusion to know that you're...
Is it the coursework or the fact that it's a need, a special kind of a need?
Yeah, it wouldn't be the coursework, it's really the assessment of the particular program.
Well, we need to take program name A, and that name is not available at Minuteman, and the name that it sounds similar is different in these ways. I don't know, I mean, it just seems,
Well,
I'm trying to get my arms around it.
Dan's point, there's a focus on need, and you need to bear in mind, you're talking about a juvenile, so there's only so much that you discuss publicly about a juvenile, period.
Even though we don't know the name or anything.
Correct. Because, well, the people in this room may not know the name, other people do.
Any other questions? Okay,
Go for it.
well,
Want me to make a motion?
sure.
I think we approve the amount of what,
$8,234.
$8,234 to underwrite the cost of the student taking a semester at Assabet.
Okay, any second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that was 5-0. All right, thank you. All right, thank you, Don.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Yep. So the next two transfers are both from the town treasurer, Kristen Knoll, and
Brian, Noel.
Noel. Sorry, thanks. The first is $110.13 to be transferred into our unemployment account. The current balance is 0, and it's for payment of a claim originally filed in March 2018. And it's a stipend that the employee was still owed. And it's extraordinary and unforeseen because the claim is based upon termination of their position with a town other than Bolton. Is that
Another position
another
entirely,
position?
yeah.
Okay, another position.
Yeah, because, unemployment, we have no control. Even if they work somewhere else and they worked for us for a minute, they can look back at all of their previous employers, so we have to pay it.
Yep. Well,
Well,
as she just said, any questions on the $110.13? Okay, then I would entertain a motion to approve the transfer.
I'll move to approve that transfer.
Okay. Any second?
I'll second that one too.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Were you an aye or were you an abstain?
I'm an aye, but I'm just...
All right, and then the final transfer is in the $4,000 being requested to be transferred into our tax taking account. And I can read a bit of an explanation that Kristen Noel provided. So we're working with a new tax title attorney, and we have good plans to move forward to begin foreclosing on parcels and eventually auction them off to generate taxable income. And so previously in the past, we budgeted a minimal amount really just to pay the recording fees of $75 per parcel. But now, because we're actually going to be moving through a legal process, there's going to be attorney's fees that we need to pay in order to finally foreclose on the properties. So I think this is a bit of a case where we're spending money to get money.
I think so.
As she said, unfortunately, we need the money up front to complete the taking so we can move forward with the land court proceedings. I would also say that the fact that this request is coming from our town treasurer suggests to me that it's something that, you know, she thinks is in our best interest.
Yes, I think it's time to start taking a serious look at our tax title. You know, the balance is over $500,000 right now, so we need to start getting more aggressive. I'm sure she would want me to say, we're not taking anybody's houses, we're not throwing anybody out of their homes, this is purely land, but it's time to, you know, start looking at some of these more seriously.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. And then, just remind me, Nanachka, for our minutes, I want to ask you for an updated balance for the reserve fund, factoring in the 3 transfers we made tonight.
Sure.
Okay. I know, am I sure?
Yes.
All right.
I was gonna ask the same thing.
No parentheses around it yet.
Yeah, not yet.
Okay, so, next we're going to review and discuss the FY20 operating budgets and articles. Like we did last year, and I thought that was pretty helpful. We're just going to run through quickly the entire budget with the goal of identifying specific follow-up items for the liaisons to work on before we actually call the department heads in for their meetings. So does that sound good?
No, not a word.
So does everybody have their budget sheets? Okay. So the first one that everybody should have is 114 for the moderator. Should be
It's
right.
overwhelming paper, I haven't quite.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of paper.
Page 1? Yes, page
Yep.
1. Next one.
Yeah, no, I'm just gonna, can't turn it
No,
enough.
that might be.
All right, I'm good, sorry.
Okay. Everybody there? To try to be as efficient as possible, I think we should just try to buzz through this and people say if they have a point to make, and if not, assume that we're not going to have too many follow-up questions. So for moderator, I don't have any questions.
Pretty straightforward.
Selectmen, also level funded. No change from the 2019 request. So I don't have anything to highlight there. Anybody else? Okay, town administrator, the only increase is in, the personnel costs. The actual supplies, trainings, all that stuff is level funded. One general question I had for you was the notation of June 29th and June 30th being extra days for fiscal 20. What is that? How often does that happen? What does that mean?
Not very often.
What does that
So
mean?
we've been lucky the last few years, just the way, if you look at calendar, the way it works for FY20, the last 2 days fall on a Monday or a Tuesday, so an hourly employee will get those days. So whatever their hours are, they'll get that little extra bit. That's why you'll see some people have it'll look a little bit more than last year because of those 2 extra days.
But so why doesn't that happen every year?
Because like last year, it fell on a Saturday and Sunday,
Oh, I
or
see.
people don't work on Fridays, Friday, Saturday, or maybe it just didn't, there's a leap year.
Got it. Okay.
And salary just gets divided by 26 even, so it's only the hourly employees.
All right, any questions about town administrator?
I don't know if you saw, it's not in the detail, but on the oversheet, there's a compensation reserve account on the master sheet.
Oh, no, I didn't.
So just a quick explanation, because that's new this year. We decided to put this in because we are in the midst of negotiating union contracts. And rather than be surprised at the end and have to go back to town meeting for, a transfer or something like that, we're gonna have a compensation reserve transfer to get those retro dollars taken care of.
Okay, so will that show up, so next year, will that show up in the little 123 sheet? Like it'll show up as a new line item?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's just
Page.
page 4 of, yep, exactly, page 4 of that spreadsheet. And shows up as a $60,000 request compensation reserve.
Because we are already in the second year of negotiating the contract, so like last year there were no increases, so that's gonna be a retro payment somewhere.
Now, how is that different, well, we don't have to get into this tonight, but how is that
So
different
that's
from,
something,
how is that different from the prior practice of having it on an article?
I talked to a couple people and that's how other towns are doing it, is through the compensation reserve account.
Okay.
The problem with it going to town meeting, it's not a problem, but as we saw last year, something that's negotiated in a contract has to be paid, and even though a town says no, as the fire uniforms, we still had to go back and pay for it. And then you ended up having to take it out of your reserve account because it was,
Yeah.
it's almost a formality that it has to go to, that it goes to town meeting because it's already been negotiated and agreed upon.
Mhm.
It'd be a bad faith agreement if we didn't pay it.
Well, I'll put a pin in that
Yes,
to follow up.
Lancaster does it that way.
Does one approach over another help you in your negotiations? Is it more powerful?
No, it doesn't, that's my understanding.
It's kind of interesting, you kind of publicize, here's the money we got.
I did ask, and I know Joe had mentioned, when we were discussing the DPW contract last year, that they in Milford did it that way. That it's in theory for any contract that we're negotiating at the time.
Any other questions on town administrator? Okay. Next budget is advisory committee. We're level funding at $180. And then,
Lead by example.
yeah. And then we'll see what happens with the reserve fund, but we just left it in there as 100,000. Town accountant. Actually a drop in the request for, so the purchase of services isn't every year.
It's every other. That's our actuarial.
Yeah.
So yeah, goes up because down.
But this is one of the ones where I would be the liaison if you have any follow-up questions, but nothing jumps out at me right now. Anyone else?
I understand.
Yep. there's a step and a COLA.
I see a page here that says COLA at the top right. And I see 102% up there, and I see 5.08 in this block. What?
Right, so because of the grade step increase,
Ah, yeah.
and then the
And then
COLA.
I added the COLAs to everybody's.
Yep.
So the 5.08 is the
Difference.
COLA and the step increase.
Yep.
The COLA is
2%.
2.
That's what we're anticipating.
Where's this 3 up here?
That's,
So the steps are 3%, the COLA
that's
is
the
2%.
steps.
Oh, that's the step. Okay, all right, yeah, all right. There's still another 0.06. Okay.
Okay,
With the, we got all your,
next one, Board of Assessors. So I would like to understand more of the detail on the purchase of services. So since Board of Assessors is, I'm the liaison for that, I can follow up on the purchase of services. I know that there's some detail that was provided on the following sheet, but I think we ought to compare it to last year's and just make sure we understand exactly what's going on. Was there anything else on that budget that jumped out at people?
no, that's good.
Okay. Feel free to jump in if you see something.
I don't know. I'll talk about the ones I do know.
Next one is treasurer, that's budget 145. So the only thing, and I can talk to Kristen about this, is just understanding whether the $4,000 request that she made today is kind of baked into this FY20 budget for, I think she mentioned in the back. that
Yeah, it
there's-
looks like tax taking expenses increased,
Yep,
or kind of an ongoing. And then also in town meeting, she's proposing an article to establish a tax title revolving fund, which will help. You know, any of the redemption fees that we get can go into this account, and then that can be used for tax title stuff.
we don't currently have a tax title revolving fund, so we would have to create one and then.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else jumping out at people? Okay, moving right along, the next budget is 147, human resources.
I think it would be useful to understand all these purchase of services, scope of work last year, scope of work this year. And then also if we see some commonality between the services that somebody purchases over here, can we bundle it and get a better deal? You know, it's such a umbrella term. It could mean a lot of things.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think I would just say, in general, whenever there's a purchase of services line, the liaison should really make sure that they understand what's
What's in
baked
it.
in, because I don't think we each have the time to really master everyone's, so like, that'll be up to me for the treasurer, but when we get to conservation, for example,
Yeah.
that'll be you and
Right.
Connie, right?
Right.
But yeah, I think that's,
And maybe there is no purchase of services on treasure here. I'm reading, maybe my eyes failed.
No, she doesn't have anything in there for that line item.
Yeah, okay. I saw software support, similar comment to that. Okay.
all right, so 147, human resources. I don't have any questions about that. I mean, it's just the reason why there's an increase in the wages is because last year we didn't actually have, we were just paying for Donna, right?
We didn't, I don't think we had, yeah, we didn't have anybody in that position. It's
Yeah.
just kind of a placeholder.
Yeah, we were kind of paying Donna on a contract basis, right? And now we have Mary Beth.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Should we expect the purchase of services to go down in that case?
No, sorry, Donna Madden.
Oh, should we expect?
She's gone.
Sure,
She's retired.
But, the replacement for Donna, should we expect?
Well,
I
so
think hers
that,
did go down last year.
what do you mean?
Well, like her meeting expense went down, her in-state travel went down.
Yeah, and the thing that was, because Donna was treasurer, collector, HR, like, we've seen a net decrease in that now that Donna has left, right?
Right, and I don't think, you know, Mary Beth is still kind of transitioning in, so not, you know, I don't think she's really quite sure what she's gonna use of these yet.
Yeah. Any other questions about HR? Okay, next one is legal services, 151. Dawn usually presents that one, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, the request is level funded.
Actually, that's something that's been,
Do you know,
it depends on what ongoing litigation.
do you know off the top of your head where we stand in that budget?
No. I can find out though. So you keep going. I'm gonna say.
The next one is MIS, which we just got this revised version.
The other page.
Hmm?
I don't see the other page of that. It's okay.
You mean the one that looks like that?
I see one that looks like that for that. That's okay.
Right, no, exactly. This is the way that MIS submits it.
The one with 58,291,
This is the revised from 60.
which is less
Yeah, so
than
that's-
65. Oh, I don't know what it is.
So last year, it looks like we approved for fiscal 19, just slightly north of $65,000. And the request, if I'm understanding this correctly, is 58,291, so that's good. Does anyone have specific follow-ups that they'd want to see on that?
Somebody that understands MIS may have some questions about what we're buying here.
Halfway through.
Okay. Thanks.
CMG fix-free maintenance did go up 20% or so. I don't know.
Well, if
what it is.
anyone,
Who knows?
I can be the point person for this, but if anyone has specific questions, they can just email me and I'll pass them on to Dawn. All right. The next one is
That's right.
Sorry, it's
Like legal services and
back to the town clerk.
Is this where town clerk?
Yep. Any,
Page in there, okay.
Another page one.
Yeah.
so on the actual town clerk budget, there wasn't anything that jumped out at me. I don't know why. Meetings, I don't know why the meetings expense would be going down. I'm not gonna complain, I'm just,
Looks like 2018 actual, probably year-to-date of some sort is down, so get the
yeah.
benefit of that.
Yeah. So I didn't have any other questions
That's
about
good.
the town
That's
clerk
good.
budget.
Outstanding.
Does anyone else? We do have an interesting capital outlay in the elections budget because our voting tabulator machine, which is super old, failed twice on election day. So,
They get it every 2 years, so it's a big deal.
That's important.
yeah.
Is this a repair or a new?
This is a new, so what the explanation was that the current tabulator was purchased in 2002, manufacturing ceased in 2007, and parts and repair are becoming more difficult and costly to acquire. And the tabulator broke down twice, then completely died during the November 6th election.
Is this AccuVote or whatever?
It's, yeah, an AccuVote tabulator.
Huh.
So, you know, if people have specific questions that they'd like me to pose regarding the tabulator, you can shoot me an email and I can do that.
Seeing as how this is neither North Carolina nor Georgia, I think we can assume that it
Just
really
make
broke down.
sure that what we
Yeah,
get
let's
is
keep it that
going
way.
to be with a company that's going to be in business.
Yeah.
If that or how you can tell.
But I mean, it sounds like AccuVote is either, I don't know what their situation is.
Okay, next one, street listings / registrars. Oh yeah, it's at the bottom of the town clerk page. When Pam comes in, I'm sure she can, that's Pam, right? Street
Yeah.
listing? She can explain the $200 increase in purchase of services. It's probably whoever does the street listing. Alright. Alright, now we're on this one.
Okay.
Conservation.
Uh-huh.
So, there were a few things that jump out at me.
I think we're on the page here.
I guess the first question is, Joe, do you have any insight into this budget so far, or?
I don't have any insight into it so far, I'm afraid,
Okay.
because I have not contacted Rebecca.
Okay.
Typically,
Would you contact her, or would you
Yes.
contact somebody on the commission, or how?
well,
what's
I
your-
would contact her. The problem is I believe the commission meets at the same time that we do.
Okay.
Usually I contact her.
So you and Connie are the liaisons,
Right,
and I
I
think,
think that means I should really get on it, because I don't know, depending on the health, on Connie's mother's health.
yeah. I mean, honestly, I'd say everything below the wages line, you know, purchase of services, land maintenance, land capital improvement, equipment, like, I think we just want to have a really good understanding of what
Right.
each thing is securing, because I will admit, I often get confused about, it seems like we're paying for invasive species maintenance and removal in several different areas, and I can never keep it straight.
Well, I think they need to look at it and dial their numbers back to level funded, because it is not level funded.
No, it isn't level funded.
And it isn't that what they're doing isn't important, it's that what dollars they spend, we're not gonna have to, for the education budget that we get at the last minute. And, I mean, that's one reason
Well,
for
we need
level
to
funding.
find out what the, okay, I'll
I mean,
have
I think there's some, I mean, nice to haves, but
We just need the justification, because almost every line is up.
well, I'm sure they'll justify it. I don't want the numbers to
Yeah,
be
but we don't
down.
know what it is, so
well, we need to find out what it is, and,
I'm not saying the justification is right, I'm just saying we don't know what's in there.
right.
We don't have any idea what the rationale is. Yeah.
The only one where we do have a bit more detail is on line 5800, land dash capital improvement. It looks like they're gonna be seeking a grant, but, as is often the case, the applicant has to put up a
Right.
certain amount, and so they're gonna look for a grant of 30,000, we'd have to put up 6,000. And it's for, essentially, trail,
Is that the trail they mentioned to the selectmen? I can't remember which meeting. They mentioned that they wanted to acquire some land for a connector trail.
yeah, it looks like,
No, but you wouldn't know that from this, so we just.
No, no.
Well, they have a $30,000 reserve, right?
Yes.
yeah,
Or maybe it has a different name than that.
Yep, we do.
That's, could be used.
so you got your work cut out for you, Joe.
I do. I do.
All right, next one, planning board.
Planning board. Excuse
Oh,
me.
here's
All right.
the grant application.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not, it's still, I don't think it
For Mass
explains
Trails.
what we would actually be doing.
Okay, no, I'll check into that.
So planning board, I don't have any immediate, apart from wages, their actual other requests went down by $700.
Why are wages well below budget for fiscal 18? Says actuals.
She had a baby.
Yeah, I was gonna say, was it maternity leave?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
The kid hasn't shown up on her school
Not
budget.
yet.
All right, next one is Ag Commission, level funded.
Yay.
EDC, level funded.
Yep.
Town buildings, level funded.
Okay.
Town hall is also level funded. And then, you might know this off the top of your head, Meenakshi, but for some of these, like insurance ones, like building insurance, did they
I believe they have
just
quotes,
assume, oh, okay.
I believe that, I don't know, maybe, Speaking out of turn. Because those seem like odd amounts to just,
We quote annually or like every 3 years to give people like a 3-year
I'm sure.
reward?
I know they looked into other insurance before, didn't they?
Yeah, and I don't wanna like misrepresent everything Don said, but I thought that they were sort of bidding it out this year.
Well, they could be in the process.
They could be in the
Putting
process.
something in the budget.
Um,
I'm sure they'll explain it when they come in.
yeah. Our reports is level funded. Public safety building, a slight decrease.
It's a good letter, Don, we're getting some decreases.
Oh, we're not done yet.
All right, police department,
Oh.
Spoke too soon.
Yes.
It's on the salary.
so that's you and Connie, right, Ann? You're the liaisons?
Right, and Connie's been incommunicado, so yeah, I haven't even started a conversation.
Okay, well, I think you might end up having to go ahead and do some of that on your own,
Okay.
because.
I spoke to the chief a while back, and he was more than delighted to sit down with me, but I was just wondering what Connie's
Yeah.
availability would be.
Because the wages increases almost $100,000. So I don't know anything really about that. Did you have any insights to offer?
I do not. I don't know. Curious myself.
Was in 2019, the 47,400, was that for the police vehicle we actually bought, or was that for this truck or whatever that then we found was not
The cruiser purchase?
available? On police, 5870 is the line,
Mm-hmm.
and I see 47,400 for FY 2019. And I'm trying to recollect, was that for the full amount of this enhanced truck or whatever that could haul traffic cones and do various things?
Honestly,
And
I
then
don't
we
remember. I
found
know
out
we
that
talked about it so many
Ford didn't
times.
have it, so maybe we bought a lesser expensive one.
We did buy something.
We definitely bought something
Looks
Yeah, we
less
bought
expensive.
something.
lesser,
Like $4,000.
So-
but that was FY 18.
That's the
We
thing.
haven't bought FY 19 yet.
Oh, okay.
Right, so if I'm remembering correctly, this 47,400 is for the, is it F-150? Is that what it's for?
It was
It's a truck.
It was a truck, it was some
And I feel like it was gonna
A
be
police
purchased
truck,
at the
I
end
believe
of
that for me.
FY 19. Does that sound right?
Say that again?
Was it gonna be purchased at the end of FY 19? Does that sound right?
It was at some point during that.
Sometime
Yeah,
during this year.
sounds right.
Yeah.
They haven't purchased it yet, as far as that I know of, unless they've ordered it.
And it looks like we want another one.
Mhm.
Well, every year. It's annual.
That was fine when it was Lincoln, whenever they kept falling apart.
Questions to ask?
It would be a good question to ask.
Yeah, so what kind of money
Because
should we put
because
in
when
it?
that decision was made, the cars, didn't last as long.
Yeah.
So the question
I
is.
thought we were on a purchase, skip a year, purchase or something, but
I don't know, there's a lot of what we used to do, or, I don't know what the practice is, and I don't know what the rationale
Yeah.
is, and I don't know if the rationale still holds in 2018.
I just remember that they had wanted to buy this special souped up, I think it was an F-150.
see what you can sniff
Right, and it
out.
wasn't
It
available.
was not.
Yeah.
Right.
So they just bought a regular cruiser.
Yeah,
I think it was
Or
an
an
SUV.
SUV.
It was
I
an
think
SUV.
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, they're all SUVs.
They're all SUVs now.
Yeah, that's what they wanted to move to. They're not all now,
No.
but I think they wanted all SUVs.
So from our minutes last year,
Get you.
we discussed the cruiser purchase with a proposed expense of $47,400. This would be for the purchase of a Ford F-150
Oh, that's
police
right, yeah.
responder pursuit rated vehicle. In Bolton, we have a number of challenging physical circumstances that would be well served by a Ford F-150. The chief presented information about the costs to purchase and outfit the vehicle, which is the $7,000. And so after discussion, the committee agreed that the purchase of a pursuit-rated Ford F-150 would be a worthwhile experiment for the department to undertake in FY19.
Oh.
The Chief Nelson mentioned the possibility of adding F-150s into the fleet on a rotating basis, but that decision would be deferred to a later time. So it looks like we're at that later time.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we didn't get it for last year, so
No, they got a regular.
they got a regular SUV.
Because they weren't available again.
Right,
for FY18.
Right.
Right.
So they're gonna buy the truck now,
Yes.
and then
Yeah.
it looks like another truck.
And will the
in 2020.
rationale be the same, that it's just a,
Yeah. So,
let's see how it works out.
so specific
That's what I think.
follow-up items related to the police department, I think we want to understand the wages increase. I think we want to understand the rationale for the cruiser purchase. Maybe get some information about what's happened so far for FY19. I'm sure there are other things that might jump out at people, but is it safe to say, Anne, we can just email you with any
Yeah,
thoughts?
and if anybody would like to come with me, it's fine by me. No, Connie's unavailable, so.
If I'm available, just give me a
Right.
shout. Give me a
Right.
shout. Because a truck should be more robust than
Huh?
an SUV. Anyway, we'll have fun with this, okay.
So I'll call you, Ted, and, because I think it would be helpful to have two people listen.
Okay. Next is fire.
This is Craig and I.
Yeah.
And the increase here is from what?
Wow, uniforms, we are really
It's contractual.
well uniform. Okay.
Now, am I remembering correctly that you guys had thought about setting up a meeting and then at one of the selectmen's suggestion, you deferred it until we hired a full-time chief?
Which has happened, so we're due.
Yesterday was his first day, so,
Oh, congratulations, Jeff.
so now you can go
Um,
harass him about money. He'll be so excited.
Yeah?
Who are the liaisons for fire?
Craig and I.
Got it, yeah.
So I think we can just do the same thing, like, to be honest, I'll have to take a closer look at, to see whether there's anything that jumps out at me.
I'd be curious about the wages firefighter line number, if that could be, if that's gonna hold steady, what that encompasses exactly.
Yep.
Repairs have gone away.
And the fire chief for FY19, that was a full year, therefore FY20 is also a full year. I thought
FY19 was just I think it was a partial year placeholder.
That's what worries me. So that FY20 could be more than FY19.
Oh, you know.
Oh, it definitely is.
So it doesn't say.
You know what?
Oh, you have the old.
Oh, we're not looking at our revised.
Right, we
I
got-
was gonna say,
That's right.
it's way higher.
You just passed it today, that's right, that is huge. Relative.
You're not gonna like it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's realistic. This is the real world, okay.
So you have the updated one. Well, I would be happy to, I think we should just work through Craig and Ted on this one.
Yeah, send us your questions, because we need to get going on this.
Yeah. All right.
So we expect the questions to like within a week. Of course, we're not gonna probably meet too much in the end of December, but we might, who knows?
Well, I think we'll talk a little bit about scheduling later, but I think you guys might have a bit more time for some of the bigger budgets to do your due diligence before we call them in to discuss. Like I might try to defer it a little bit into the middle of January rather than the very beginning.
That would be helpful because those are more complex discussions.
Yeah. I think we need to have, you might know this actually, Anashka. So, the emergency management budget, 291, I forget whether that's under,
Police,
okay,
or public safety, I should say.
okay, so when we get to 291 in, just make a note that that will be one to include when you talk with Chief Nelson. Anyway, sorry to get
Say that
sidetracked.
again?
We haven't gotten there yet, but when we
Okay.
get to 291,
Oh, all right, that's the emergency management one.
yeah, I just wanted to ask because I forgot whether Margie was the one who did that.
No.
This is the article. Federal paper, maybe?
Yeah, so we've got all the
Oh,
capital ones at the very back. Yeah. Ambulance liaisons are, Ted and Craig. You guys have both fire and ambulance. So I guess the same thing would be true, just email you guys any of our questions.
repairs, well,
Yeah. Yeah, the repairs line jumped up, purchase of services jumped up.
the repairs are because of a transitioning from a cadet car, from a Dodge Cruiser to a Cruiser. Anyway, Dodge Cruiser from a 40 to a 44.
Oh, yeah.
From police.
Want to move along to building inspector?
Sure.
That's virtually level funded.
Yep.
And I believe the plumbing and the wiring, the only increases there are labor, right?
COLA,
COLA.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, so 291, the CERT is the Community Emergency Response Team, right? Is that, do you know, Nanachka, if that's what that is?
I don't know.
Yes, it is.
So when you meet with the chief, Ann, maybe just get a little bit of background on the status of that. I know that there was some discussion about it last year, but I just hadn't,
You mean the emergency notification? I'm sorry, I'm
No,
sorry.
the Community Emergency
responder.
Response Team.
Yeah, so we have a requested $5,000 expense for CERT instructors, and then $1,000 request for CERT kits and manuals. So I think what this is we have they'll be training a team of citizens to be able to respond to emergencies, but we need to pay for that
Right.
training, so I'd want to know, like, just more details about, is this a yearly thing, is it every few
So
years?
what we're saying here is, we don't, those teams aren't in place today.
No.
No, so we need to put them in place and we need to get them trained.
And what kind of emergencies?
Yeah, we don't know anything about this, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a CERT a while ago, I think it got started up after that ice storm that took out a lot of power
Yeah.
for people, but I think it's been dormant, so yeah, just trying to understand the background.
And it would also be helpful, just as a background in education, as sort of the scope, the mission. How much did you spend on this last year, Amy?
No.
I don't know what's new.
Didn't exist.
Okay.
I remember the chief
That's
discussing,
helpful.
talking about
Yeah.
how to do it, but that's,
Next one is animal control. 292. So that's slightly lower than FY19, just a little bit.
There it is, a little bit.
$50 per.
Take it.
Animal control. Oh, yeah, down here.
As they say, in the animal control business, don't look a gift horse.
He's here all week, ladies and gentlemen.
Sorry about that.
You couldn't
Um,
resist.
Don't look at the rest of this page, because it's weird how they do it. This is literally
Okay.
only for that one.
All right.
The next page
Moving
is,
Bristol.
yeah, there you go.
Traffic lights.
That's level funded.
I was interested in that because we cranked it down based on LED lights. Evidently it's, okay. What's next?
Tree warden, that's 294.
Next level.
Yep.
Pretty close.
Dispatch, that's Devon's, $5,000 increase. I know Dawn will have more details about that, but I think he'll be able to,
$5,000?
according to this, it's going from 170 to 175.
Yeah.
200,901.
Oops,
What?
ooh, let's try that again.
Really? You don't have?
It's on the master, it should be on the master. I don't update the individual, I just update the master sheet.
Wonder how many other numbers we looked at.
No, those are fine.
Good, we're a captive,
Wow.
good, we're a captive audience,
Yep.
or we could go somewhere else. Let's see, so let me do the math here. It's going up $25,000 a year, so it'll be the biggest portion of our budget in about 20 years.
It's
That's
gonna,
assuming it's
there's a
left.
one-time thing in this one, and I'm not qualified to speak about it, but it's not gonna, this is a blip in the, Don will have more information.
Didn't Donna say something about they had the maximum number of participating towns, or they were waiting to
We just accepted Townsend.
yes, okay, there was something about
Yeah.
if the capacity, when the capacity reaches a certain point, they have to, I remember vaguely,
Yeah, I don't really know.
yeah, okay.
Okay, so Dawn will explain.
Yes.
Okay. Next is DPW.
Oh, boy.
No.
Oh, which is sticking.
So Ann and Ted, how much,
Gasoline.
Have you chatted with Joe about the?
We
We
will
were
chat.
set up to chat, and then he had an emergency, so we need to reset up.
We're on for first Tuesday in January,
Oh,
Okay.
8:30.
You got it, and I'm sitting down.
Theirs isn't that
Is
much.
it Tuesday in January?
It's only wages, really.
Yeah, that's
January
what we-
1st.
Now, the gasoline is,
Yeah, but that was
Almost
way
double.
under budget.
that means we either have twice as many vehicles or driving twice as many miles or
Well, I don't know why it's
better accounting or
7,700.
something.
It's never been that low. I don't know why they budgeted that last year. I mean, if you look at all the actuals, it's never been even close to $8,000.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Fiscal 18, it was budgeted at 7, and it was 13.
yeah.
I think Ted must have twisted some.
must
I was just gonna say, I feel like somebody got bullied into that number. Put it
Wait,
back.
so when you said the first Tuesday, you're talking about January 8th?
I hope.
First Tuesday, whatever the first
That's
Tuesday.
just New Year's Day.
New Year's Day, you're not meeting with them?
Oh, no.
So
It'll be the
January
8th.
8th.
It'll be
Yeah.
January.
The first,
Okay. Because
We have,
that,
we have a standing meeting the first Tuesday of the month at 8:30 a.m.
and it's held
Unless
as
a
needed.
culvert
Yeah.
breaks or something.
Yeah.
And it's just to kind of have a routine, how's it going type meeting.
okay.
But this will have a,
So that will,
that'll be January 8th.
so you guys actually have a whole bunch of, he has a whole bunch of budgets under his purview. It's like
Yeah,
421, 422.
we don't need to go through it now, well,
No,
but appreciate questions.
prior to the 8th, obviously.
Yeah,
Okay.
and well prior to that, because if we can share the questions with him, then we're not surprising him and he can have better responses.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm happy to kind of skip over those for now.
The next one's 510, go ahead. The cemetery.
Landfill,
Yeah, I mean, everything else
sewer,
is
Water.
level funded, water,
Courthouse
cemetery.
is the new one, right?
Yeah.
Last time.
Yeah.
15,692 is your number, or not?
15,692.
Not the total, but the
For 510?
No, for the non-wages.
non-wages part.
15,692.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Supplies. I think we can,
Oh, no, it's back to what it was in fiscal 18.
it's not a big amount,
No.
but it's,
So they're requesting more hours. I don't know if that's on your sheet.
Two more hours per week. There wasn't like an explanation. Do you know?
Do I have anything in here? No.
that's what this is up here.
Yeah.
2 hours.
2 more hours. I guess the other thing that I'm trying to remember, so I know that, I know Jenny covers Board of Health and also like all the building inspection and all that stuff. But
Somebody.
her wages only appear here, right?
That's right.
So,
Yeah, I don't know why it was never divvied up between the two departments.
now would I talk to her? Because I think I'm the follow-up person for this. Would I talk to
Yeah.
her about that? Okay. Just to find out how much of it is for Board of Health versus
Right.
other things.
Right.
So I can ask about that. Joe, if you want to just make a note that I'll follow up with Jenny Jacobson. Looks like the nursing increase is just based on an assumption of a 5% increase, but I
Yeah.
don't think we actually have the actual fee yet. So that's just an assumption. Next one is Council on Aging. That is, I'm the liaison for that. So I think there are probably a bunch of different questions that I can ask.
Yeah, they're asking for more hours for that outreach.
Yeah, for Heather.
Couple hours. Something like that.
Wow, building lease, what's going on?
It looks like the rent has just gone up, so
That I don't know.
I think they were used,
Does it have anything in the notes?
they used to pay,
Who negotiated that?
um,
Yeah. She has it in her notes.
yeah, there's some in the notes. I don't know who negotiates that.
Find a new location
Yeah.
or school or something.
Telephone?
Yeah, I was wondering.
They didn't have a telephone of their own?
It was always in town hall
Oh,
for some
that's-
reason, and I asked them to break it
Oh,
out
okay.
just for clarity.
That makes sense.
But yeah, because I always thought that was weird. I'm like, we're paying a telephone bill, it should be in your budget.
Now, there have to be alternatives to this lease increase.
Well, where?
I don't know where else they'd go, they kind of need to be at the senior center.
Yes, they do.
They have to.
I think so. I mean, they're
That's what it seems.
council on aging.
Yeah.
It seems like that's the place they
We
go.
have a shuttle bus, and people can get on over there and go wherever the meeting is.
Have you been to the,
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah,
that's gonna happen.
yeah.
because I think that would be a huge inconvenience to a lot of the people that take advantage of the program.
For a couple
I think
thousand
they should
bucks.
lower the
Right.
rate so they don't have to.
Oh, it's, who,
I mean,
No, I mean, I think that,
it's the building, I mean, we don't have any control.
Who
over
owns
it.
the building? Is that the Flatley?
It's 100%
It's not
increase.
Flatley.
I don't think so, it's,
Yeah.
who is the, I forget who the leaseholder, or the owner. I don't remember.
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
I mean, I think a question is, do we have negotiating power in that
Exactly.
relationship?
Yeah,
I don't know
think
the
so.
answer to that
And
question.
a lease may have been, I'm assuming a lease has already been signed, so, I mean,
And of course, if you move it somewhere else, then your van costs are going to skyrocket. It's going to be
Right.
difficult for people to get to it. I mean, if you have only one van and you're trying to have a meeting at n p.m.
and you're paying the van, but you're saving on the lease, like, what's
Right.
the?
Right.
Well, you gotta run the numbers.
Right.
You gotta run the
Sure.
numbers.
But then you have the issue of convenience. I mean, these
Mhm.
people,
If you're negotiating, you
Well-
don't look at it from their point of view, you look at it from our point of view. You're
Right.
doubling our rent by 100%. And we have,
It's not their convenience, it's the client's convenience.
yeah, that's what I meant.
You know, getting people
but the
who have
people
some restrictions in
negotiating to
mobility.
double the rent are
Well,
gonna
we
say
should talk
all the
about this
things
when they
that
come in.
that we've
It's
said.
the overview.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, I mean, I think, so if people, it sounds like people will have some specific questions that they want me to ask in advance, but I think we'll also have to have a discussion.
Is there a
Um,
liaison for them?
That's me,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
I mean, if we're willing to pay 100% this year, what's gonna happen next year?
It'd be nice to know what the lease terms are.
Yes, I was just gonna say, the
Is it a
lease
one-year
term.
lease, is
It
it a
could be a
five? We could be
multi-year
locked
lease.
in for
Right.
X number of years, I have no
Are the
idea.
step increases every so many years?
Right.
and
Maybe we get a copy of the lease.
It'd be good to see the copy of the lease.
Okay.
So if anyone else has questions, please shoot them my way. Okay,
There's a copy of the contract. That would be-
copy of the lease?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the lease, because, I mean, they lease that room out, or they allow others to use that room at no cost. And So, anyway.
That I don't know.
When you raise prices 5 or 10%, you don't get too much pushback, but 100%.
Veteran services is the next budget.
It's empty.
Well, you know why that's that.
Yeah.
No,
There's no requested.
no, this one.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Well, that is what it is.
Yeah,
How many
Yeah.
pages over is that? Not human services and safety.
it's right here.
Okay.
We So did we not get a human services and safety budget?
Yes, it's in here, but I don't know if there's a.
Oh, there it is. It's
$1,000,
1,000.
same.
Yeah, it's 1,000. Okay.
I'd be curious to see if that could be rolled up into another
Yeah,
department.
what is that, why is that sitting out separately? Is it?
Isn't that the, do we want to go into that?
No,
We're not tonight.
We're on veteran services, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Wow. Okay, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is, and I think
Moving
he's
on.
already explained to us that
Yeah.
we have twice as many veterans, which is all.
And when we have our discussion, we'll have some actual numbers.
Right.
We wrote a bigger check than we
Right.
probably needed to. The other day.
I think we're gonna need it.
All right, next one is library. 610. So you guys did have an opportunity to,
Yes, we did.
Did you skip over human services?
no, just to say that we're gonna talk about.
Yeah, we need to
Yeah.
talk about that. That is, there's some opportunities there.
Uh-oh.
Everything. Oh, no, I was afraid.
If these get thrown on the floor, you will never be able to get them together again.
That's true. Yeah, you need a binder.
We're getting close to the end, guys.
Yay.
Library, just.
You haven't even hit capital yet.
Well, well, when we get there, I'm gonna suggest.
Cry.
And we got a pretty good, yeah.
So can you offer any insights?
So the copier lease is because the original copier was actually rolled into the building cost
Right.
originally. It's now dead after, what, 10 years?
10 years.
And an equivalent replica is $3,500 per year for many years. I don't know the number. The old copier, it's failing. There's no drivers available for it because it was
So,
created in times of Windows Bob or whatever it was called.
Is that under the repair line?
That's under repair line, yes.
I think it should be
No, it's
somewhere
not.
else. 'Cause it's not really a
No,
repair.
you're right, it should be somewhere else.
So I think I just want to get clarity on that $3,500, whether it's gonna be every year going forward.
Yep.
I think so, yes.
I'm sorry, which one are
Some
you
of
looking
that-
at?
it's under repairs, but it's really for a new lease for a new copier.
I believe it also includes all the materials.
Yeah.
Paper.
Right, right.
This
it
is
does.
library.
And I think service, the service
Yeah.
contract. Yeah, it includes the copier, the supplies, and a service.
We talking
Yeah.
610?
Yes,
Yep.
it probably should be under repairs.
Oh, you need to jump forward a couple.
Yep, that's it.
No, I think she has to jump forward a bit.
Jump a
Yeah,
little bit.
jump
Yeah.
forward several pages until you get one that has numbers on it.
Pass this, pass this. Pass this. This is the verbiage,
That's why I just look at the summary. It takes too long.
Yeah,
the to be determines.
well, heat and electricity.
Now, do we currently lease or we currently own?
We own because
We
it's
own.
not with the
Okay.
building.
Yeah, it was bought with the grant money with the
Okay, so we
building.
cap on it, okay.
So, what else is there? So I believe what used to be 1350 was likely paper materials and supplies for the old printer. And probably a service contract or something.
Yeah, but they just can't get anything for it anymore. It's failing
Well,
and,
that's the trouble when you build do everything new all at once at all.
yeah.
Now, what's the deal with the software?
That might be listed out. Actually, we talked about that.
Yes, they did, new software.
Is that
It
what
was
you
for the scheduling of the use of the rooms there and so on.
Yeah, it's a whole new software package that they're getting.
Yes, it's already in place.
It's
Well-
already in place?
I believe so.
Well, then we don't have to pay for it again.
It's probably a yearly cost.
So I think we should email Ted and Craig our questions.
No,
Joe.
Joe. and-
Sorry, Joe and Craig. Yeah, that makes sense. I also want to just understand the vacation coverage request. Is that, do you know anything about that?
We had that last year. Remember, we were kind of going, or 2 years ago, we were kind of battling a little bit about the number of weeks, and I think we finally came to a number we could all live with.
I remember they explained the new software when we were there, but I,
Yeah, it was related to the scheduling of a room there, and don't know what else.
Wait, I don't know if you're seeing the same thing I am, or if it's just broken up differently, but there's like an actual, there's like a line listed out for vacation coverage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I roll that into wages.
Oh, okay.
It's not supposed to be like that.
Oh, okay.
That's.
The sheet
Some
wasn't filled
attention.
out the way it's supposed to be. It's always in there, it's just not broken out by that.
Oh,
line.
okay, all right. That
Like if
makes
you
sense.
look at last year's salary page, you'll see
Look
it
at
in
the
the,
detail, okay.
yeah.
Notably, the phone's cost is higher than predicted and expected. Even though we have this nice new phone system, which works a lot better, I understand, but it's also more expensive.
I don't think the library's using a telephone much.
Okay, should we jump ahead?
Yes.
Is there a kind of a rule of thumb that says some software is handled by MIS and others handled by individual departments? Or?
It's a good question. Well, I think software, like for me personally, in my budget, it's my accounting software. So, but I think like MS Office would be MIS. You know, if it's specific to my department, I think it's, you know, so maybe it's CW Mars software that would be specific to the
oh,
library.
maybe CW Mars, which,
Or some, I know they have some like.
yeah, I think it.
Because, it's a
Some
single
stuff.
software system across.
Right,
across
so
the
if
libraries.
they're changing the library network's software every
We'll
day,
find out then.
we'll find out.
It could be an assessment.
So
Okay.
you can't have a standalone library
Right.
system and expect to do interlibrary loans.
Right.
Right, that might be that.
Okay, so the next one is
And a caveat.
the recreation budget.
Recreation.
6:30.
So, 2 pages beyond that, you'll see that it says, "We are requesting level funding with the exception of wages for a part-time Parks and Recreation coordinator." So, we knew that this request would be made. So, I think we'll just talk to them about it when they come
Yeah.
in.
Definitely not a surprise.
No.
But it's non-benefited, it's not a lot of hours.
And I also think we run the risk, since it's entirely volunteer run, at some point they're gonna want to do this anymore.
We're getting bigger, we're getting, you know, it seems,
And their participants, patient numbers have always been
you know,
robust.
a lot of new families are moving into town. Could be good.
The actual parks budget, which is
Do we know how many hours that is?
10.
10, okay, per week.
Yep, 10 hours per week.
I don't know where we'll put them, but
For somebody who works
We're-
30 hours a week, you put the.
we're full.
On the next page, the parks budget is level funded.
I must have missed.
The line on the top of that one.
Oh, I see it.
And then one line item. Historical.
Historical Commission is level funded.
Yep. That's, I think, a couple pages forward, because that's, they don't have the radio.
Okay.
Yep. Is Linda in charge of the 692, the
Yeah.
celebration
I
memorial?
believe so.
Okay.
That's all. Significant.
Yes. So, historical is level funded, but the next one, the celebration slash Memorial Day is up significantly. And the explanation in the notes is that this will enable the town to have a flag replacement and maintenance schedule for all town buildings and properties with flags. This will not only include American flags, but POW and town flags as well. This will also help cover the cost of hardware necessary to hang flags. The DPW is going to fabricate a design to extend the flagpole along Main Street so the flags don't get caught up in the wires. It's a good idea. In addition to the flags, the number of veterans recognized on Memorial Day is growing, so floral costs are increasing as a result.
Now, are those banners honoring the fallen heroes going to stay up all year
I don't
long?
know, it's a good question.
Because I would think
In the winter, you think
they
you'd
would
want to
really,
take them
yeah,
down,
they'd-
right?
and they'd be faded
Yeah.
very quickly.
I
Since
was
I
wondering
see
the
one
same
every
thing.
time while I'm drinking my morning coffee, I see Imre Toth out there. And
Is that technically a parks thing? Who did the flags? I know Karen Regan.
It was a volunteer.
It was a
Bolton
volunteer thing,
Loco, I
and didn't
think.
they get some
Karen
kind of
Regan.
special funding for that?
They may have. Yeah, I think it was all volunteer.
Yeah.
And as I understand it, this has nothing to do with
Oh,
that,
okay.
right?
I don't know.
Like, I think this is just American flags,
Yeah, maybe.
American flags, POW, and town flags. But I don't think Hometown Heroes is
No.
included.
No, I think that's a special program. Just, I guess maybe we need to ask Linda Bolton Local about that. But
Then actually for the rest of the budget, like the employee benefits, workers' comp, all that, do you know how hard these numbers are?
So Worcester Regional Retirement, we put in 10%. They told us to expect 8 to 10, so, and we don't know yet.
Okay.
Health insurance, we don't know, and we won't know until, mid-February, mid to end February.
But that, do you know what the estimate is? I could do the math, but do you know off the top of your head? It doesn't matter.
Isn't it in there?
The percentage?
10%.
Oh, yeah, not on my sheet.
Oh, on the summary sheet, if you will.
Jeez, you and your.
Sorry, I know, I love my
Right.
summary sheet.
So
So that's 10%.
Workers' comp looks like we're up 30%?
Yeah, she got that quote from somebody. And that's what I said, I was like, what?
That's Linda, right?
Yeah,
Linda or Dawn.
I don't know what the reasoning behind that is.
So they'll come in, all right.
OPEB,
Oh, yeah.
exactly. Health insurance costs went up. We have more employees taking health insurance. And we also went from GASB 45 to GASB 75, just the way that they're gonna account for OPEB. And it's a little more, I'm not an actuary, but they were trying to align it more with the pensions and just the way the models are. It doesn't work quite in their favor like it did into the other one. Unfortunately.
What are they investing in?
Kristen would be better able to speak to what we have our trust
All right,
fund in.
'cause whatever it is must be going down or something. Anyway, okay.
What sort of documentation do we have to support the number?
I have an actuarial report.
Okay, if that's something that we can have, I'd like to see it. I just don't know what's like available to us.
Sure.
And what's it called now? It's not the ARC, it's something else.
It's, I can't remember.
But it's basically, they
It's something
renamed it
else.
with the new methodology of calculating it.
Yeah, it's something. They cut everything they changed all the terms, just when I finally got the other ones, I was like, I'm on the phone with the actuary, like, what is this?
Is that a report that you can just send to all of us? Is that okay?
I
Or?
think so. I don't see why not.
All right. Anything else? I mean, we'll go over all of those things
Yep.
later, but in terms of capital, the notch guy, since you've been bragging about your summary sheet the entire evening, is the easiest way. Should we just use that to, is that like where the easiest way
Like the
to
warrant
see
articles,
everything?
like where I listed,
Yeah. Like,
it's not a bad idea. I mean, if you've already gone over, I mean, because we're not talking about each, this is just kind of an overview, right? We're not gonna like get into,
yeah, and in fact, before we get to the capital stuff, so if we go to page 8, like you're on page 18, right? Of your,
yeah.
yeah.
And I just randomly put things, free cash, borrow, like just so I have somewhere to put it.
Yeah.
Because what I did, anything I put in borrowing, I did
Oh, there it is, okay.
put the debt service in the budget.
Where are we? I was looking at that.
In this,
Or
or
this.
page 18.
Page 18.
So, I want to be respectful of everyone's time. We have a lot of capital items, and we could spend a long time talking about them, but what I talked about with Mike Gore of Capital Planning is that this year, we were gonna try to basically be cross-posted with Capital Planning for their meetings when they meet with Joe and everyone, so that we're all getting the same information at the same time and that the department heads aren't having to repeat it for us and then for them. So I think if we can work the schedule, I'd like to try to have the capital meetings relatively early in the schedule. You know, sometime in January, so that we can just go through all of these with everybody in the room. And then I'm sure there'll be lots of questions for follow-up and stuff, but we'll at least have a good sense of the top priorities and all of that. And then we'll have that, all these numbers in the background as we're going through the operating budget. I don't know if people have any reactions to that idea.
Would be more efficient, certainly. You all hear the same thing at the same time.
Yeah, and I think, so, one thing though to keep in mind is, I thought it would be nice, if we have it as us attending capital planning's meeting. So capital planning will run the meeting, we'll be in attendance, we can ask questions, they'll invite selectmen, but kind of let them do their thing.
Yeah.
People
I think that makes
comfortable with
sense,
that?
No, I think it's great.
Yes, that's good, yeah.
Okay. So, unless somebody has an appetite to really go through the capital requests right now, I would say maybe we just kind of each do our homework on the backup. We do have backup for a lot of these.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, people were good about filling out their sheets and fair amount of detail behind a lot of them.
One thing I would say though is for the folks who are going to be meeting with department heads about operating budgets, I wouldn't get bogged down in your meeting with them about the capital stuff. I would save that for our group meeting so that everybody's getting the same information.
Is it too early to throw some of these numbers into a, I call it the pro forma budget that assumes some...
Already done, my friend. It's already in there.
Is it scary?
Yes. We are 500 grand in the hole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. Worst case scenario, I put in every single capital request.
I mean, last year, somebody pulled a rabbit out of the hat.
I mean, there's no way we could accommodate everybody's capital
But
request.
this is the front end of the process.
Exactly.
Obviously.
Worst case
If
scenario
they don't ask, they
first.
never get,
That's
so they
right.
may as well put it in and, the worst case scenario.
It's your wish list.
Prioritize.
Right, exactly.
Perfectly okay.
Yep.
Okay, so the only other things that we need to do tonight, I just wanted to check, is everybody generally okay with Tuesday and Wednesday nights as meeting nights?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Because we might try to do some of those double ups again. And I will work with Linda to get a calendar and I'll send it to you guys. And then just the minutes, so I sent out,
Sent a bunch.
sent a bunch, and I'm just gonna read the dates so that we have it for our,
You don't need me for this.
no, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for the cookies. I didn't need them.
Okay. So we had circulated meeting minutes from August 7th, August 21st, September 18th, October 16th, and November 15th. I got, Ted, you just sent that one edit to me, right?
Yeah, just the one edit.
Yeah, so there was one
I
edit
knew Joe would catch that, and I wanted to bring it.
about
Actually.
where the apostrophe should go in
Oh.
veterans benefits. So
You know, I leave that to Connie and Ted.
So I'll change that, but otherwise, could I get a motion to approve that slate of minutes?
I'll move that.
I'll second it. Oh, okay. You get it.
Oh, I'll second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. And then, so the only outstanding minutes are October 2nd, which is in my court, and tonight's.
Okay.
Okay, so, anyone want to move to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good night, thank you.